Why has Iron Mountain decided to start on a journey of performance management? What's behind it?
Okay. I suppose our journey with performance management started about 18 months ago, and at that time we refocused our organisation and had a very clear mission statement that we wanted to be the recognised global leader in information management. And it's just interesting, before that picture came up, who here had actually heard of Iron Mountain? Wow, that's great, okay. So that's about a quarter of the room, so we've still got some way to go in order to become more recognised actually out there. For us though, obviously at that time, huge economic challenges, the downturn right in the midst of it. And for our business, in order to become that recognised global leader, it gave us two really clear priorities. First of all, we absolutely had to get our people aligned behind that mission and behind the business objectives that we were working towards to achieve that mission. The second thing was it wasn't just good enough anymore to be able to let our people just kind of get on with it. We really had to support our managers to help get the most and get the best of potential from the people that we had working with us. So that was the two key things. I mean, to be fair, Iron Mountain, we had some great practice already in place around performance management, but it wasn't across the piece. There was some really interesting pockets of some good stuff happening. And that came across really clearly in our engagement survey. But where there was good pockets, there was also very clearly not so good pockets. And our aim was really to be able to get that consistent, to get it good everywhere. And that's what we've been working on over the last 18 months.
So the first major event was in January, and in fact we used some of the stuff we've seen today. Would you just like to give us a bit of a flavour of that day and some of the feedback you got from who came?
Yeah. I suppose for us actually it did start before the event in January. So there's a big piece for us in terms of actually positioning this as a business piece as opposed to an HR piece. And that's something that we've tried to keep as we've gone all the way through it. So this isn't an HR soft, fluffy, nice initiative to do. This is a hard-nosed business thing that we're trying to deliver. And that's reflected, I think, in the way that the programme and the work that we've done has been set up. So, you know, we have a business steering group, the leadership team are engaged in what we're actually doing. It's the business who's helped get us to where we got to in January, which was this fantastic kick-off. And we were really pleased actually to work with 3C. We pulled all of our senior leaders together across Europe to an event in London and used the Forum Theatre, which for us, and I could see it happening actually here again today, it's so engaging. You know, it's just a really great way of being able to anchor some really strong points. And even yesterday I was talking to one of our operations managers up in what we call the Hub in Birmingham, and we're having a conversation about performance management, and he talked about the theatre. That's the thing that people still remember and the learnings and things that they got from it. So it had a real impact in terms of getting some very important messages across. So that was the kind of kick-off. We launched it, we had the process, you know, there was a lot of positive feeling about it. But that really was just the start of the journey.
And then what did you move into?
Well, the challenge then for us was around how do we equip our people managers. You know, the people in Iron Mountain, the managers in Iron Mountain, they've been recognised for being brilliant at operationally managing tasks. This step change in terms of now managing people was almost like a new arena for them. And the first thing that we did, from a business perspective, we went out to that population and said, look, you know, we're looking at performance management, this is what this is about, what's really going to work for you in terms of actually helping you to be confident to do some of this stuff. And they told us three things, I suppose. The first one was just keep it simple. Let's just not overcomplicate it. Really, really simple. Let's find a way to make whatever learning we do flexible. I don't know about you, but one of the biggest challenges we have is actually getting people out for learning. So, big challenge. And thirdly, let's measure it. All right, I need to know that my people are actually doing this stuff. And that's effectively then what we created, again with 3C, building on the work that we did from the launch event. So we came up with 4 very clear themes. You could write books, well, there's loads of books out there about performance management, but we kind of drilled it down to 4 key things you needed to be able to do. So that for our managers, we wanted them to be able to set really good objectives aligned to our business priorities. We wanted people to be able to coach people then to achieve those objectives. We wanted people to be able to manage poor performance when people weren't achieving their goals. And last but not least, we wanted to help them to develop their people's potential. So I've just condensed hundreds of years of research into 4 very simple themes, but it worked for us. And we designed sessions around those 4 themes. Small, bite-sized, 90-minute sessions, very practical, very tangible, things that people could really do in the session and then take away with them. And we delivered it in a whole range of formats, didn't we? So we did face-to-face sessions, we did WebExes, we did distance learning. We even just produced, on 1 page, if you don't want to know anything else about how to do a development plan or how to set objectives, this is what you do need to know. And, in some of the sites, they were stuck on the back of, toilet doors and things. But again, it kind of worked for us, some of the old school things, as well as some of the technology.
We did, and we had the interesting thing with the translations, didn't we? To make sure that the translations of the different languages captured the meaning in the different languages. Start translating smart into Italian and German, and so you have to develop all of that. So that was quite interesting as well, and then getting all the trainers in all the different languages to all be giving the same messages all the time.
And that's a really good point, actually. So although we've used 3C a lot in these initial stages, we hope within Iron Mountain we've actually created a performance management legacy. So we spend a lot of time actually training up our own people to be able to deliver these sessions. So, we've got a lot of representatives from Italy, from some of our other European markets and from the UK all together. They've all got those skills now. And for us, that's actually worked really well. So where people haven't been able to get onto any of those other development options, we've actually taken the development to them. So things like their monthly management meetings, all we need is 90 minutes on the agenda, and they learn how to effectively set objectives. It's that whole, I always get this the wrong way around, but if you can't get Muhammad to the mountain, you take the mountain to Muhammad. And again, the feedback that we've got about that and the flexibility that we've got has been really positive. Yeah.
And then you touched on one of your main goals at the beginning was evaluating it, and we're just starting on that. But would you like to put some of the reasons why that's become so important to the business and not just to the team?
Yeah, well, I think, Peter touched on it beforehand. So for us in Iron Mountain, what gets measured gets done. So we've had fabulous feedback. I mean, the feedback from the actual development side of things, 100% of people have recommended it, the face-to-face sessions. And I've worked in L&D for a long time, and it's a long time since I've seen those kind of statistics. But it's more around actually what are managers now doing differently. So we've created a model and a metric that will actually sit up there alongside all of the other balanced scorecard in terms of our people manager capability around managing performance. And that, for us, one, it'll ensure that we keep the focus on performance management and that our eye doesn't go off the ball. But secondly, it means that we can also track the improvements that we make. I was saying to somebody earlier, it's always a challenge with this because this is a cultural change that we're talking about. And we're effectively 18 months into that cultural change. We're not there yet. I keep saying Rome wasn't built in a day. But I know that in another 18 months' time, the dial movers that we have got in place will be starting to shift.
I think that's great. And the really interesting thing for me about the measurement piece has been, it started off as we want to measure the impact of this programme because obviously you and your colleagues want to know that. But what happened is the business began to say, just a minute, we want to know that people are really doing this stuff. So we've created the metric, haven't we? We're just going out for the first level of measurements of actually tracking, are people doing the people management part of their role? And that number is going to be one of the main indicators that the business watches.
Absolutely.
So it's not an HR number, it is going to be a business metric. And I think that's a really, really exciting development because it feeds from what Peter said, will hold managers accountable because now if the top people in the business are watching it, they're going to be accountable. And you've got some very interesting ideas, particularly about engaging the frontline work. We'd just like to tell us some of the things that you're thinking about for the next steps, because I think some very interesting ideas there.
Oh, all sorts of things. We've just recently ran focus groups, you know, with the business in terms of what's working and what's not, and we've had some very direct feedback about the things that aren't working, as always. So that's one of the things on the agenda there is, you know, we thought the form itself was actually quite simple. We've discovered we can make it a lot simpler. So that's one of the first things that we're doing. In terms of engaging the front line, we're kicking off at the end of this month what we're calling a workout session. And the idea is it's a 45-minute session, but you can come along for the first 10 minutes and just find out, this is for all employees, our team members, you know, the 5 key things that you have to know before you go into your performance review. If you had enough after that first 5-10 minutes, you can leave. But if you're up for it, if you want to stretch your performance management muscles a bit longer, you can stay in that session, and we're covering things like how to give your manager really good feedback, which is always interesting. Uptake on that has been very high, which I think is going to be interesting. And then other elements that form part of that workout are things like how to set really good objectives. You know, seeing that it's not just the manager's job to set the objective; it's a joint piece. So yeah, they kick off at the end of this month, and the idea is that we continue those workout sessions on a regular basis. Yeah.
That's great. Has anybody got any questions they'd like to ask Rachel about what's happened so far on her journey?
What do you call it? Because branding in terms is really important, isn't it?
Yeah, we've literally just kept it really simple, and we do call it performance management. It's managing the performance of your people. Yeah.
And it had a strap line, didn't it, at the beginning, called "Are you ready to perform?" Which
Yeah.
you've got a good design agency to
Yeah,
do.
we did. I mean, we've used a lot, hence workout, actually. We've played a lot on the sporting connections. Yeah, so all of the branding that you see, I could have brought some of it along, actually, but as sports images. And that worked, actually, for our leadership. Our senior leadership team are very keen on football. So there's a lot of football analogies as they originally started talking about this.
Any other questions? Any other comments that anyone might like to share? As Rachel said things that are really interesting. Yes, Bob.
Can you give us examples of some of the key measurements that you take?
In terms of at which level, Bob?
KPIs, you said.
Yeah, so the KPIs that we're looking at, obviously we've got KPIs, specific KPIs around the actual development piece itself, but the other things that we're looking at, so there's key things around the dial movers that shift in terms of the 360. We've also got specific dial movers on our engagement survey. So questions like in 2009, there's about 50% of people said they weren't really clear about how their objectives linked to our organisational goals. Stuff like that are some of the key things that we're looking at, along with another key one is about managers coaching and how much people perceive that they're getting and receiving coaching and feedback from their people.
There's some hard ones, aren't there?
Yeah, and
how many people are in intensive care and how long it takes them to get out of that,
Yeah.
and how you measure how many people are being exited. We're having a look at those things, aren't we?
Yeah, so there's some soft behavioural measures, which are the 360, your organisational KPIs, which are things like speak, and then, as Heather says, we've also got the hard metrics as well. So for some of our teams, that's very much also looking at some of their specific performance metrics that they operate to in different parts of the business. So for us, that's things like drop rate and pick rate and things like that, and making the correlation between where we've got really good KPIs and good people managers, making that connection.
Okay, thank you very much. We've got a little something for you, Rachel, for
hurrah.
coming up. And Rachel's going to be here
Yeah,
afterwards.
it's you. Is it a blue dress? Yeah. Thank you. Do I get to take you home?
That's very brave, Rachel, to get up here
Thank you.
and talk to us and be very open about the challenges that she faces, and that it's a journey, isn't it? And it's not a destination.
You didn't have to do
I think
that.
Helen's got something.
Oh, how nice. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
very much, Rachel.